Wales Government's 20-year economic vision for regional New South Wales. Councillor Brown.
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to note a concern here on page 387, Metro Satellites, where the New South Wales Government through this plan is saying that the capital region in Kiama will also see particularly strong population growth in the coming 20 years. We forecast the population of Metro Satellites could grow by more than 426,000 people. I'm just wanting to know, Mr Mayor, what your understanding is Kiama now considered a metro satellite by the New South Wales Government, and does the New South Wales Government plan to retain the green space between Gerringong and Giroa?
I'll pass that question on to the Director, see if she has any knowledge of.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. So this is not within my portfolio, but in terms of the separation of the urban areas between Gerringong and Giroa, at least since 2007 with the release of the Illawarra regional strategy, the separation of those two urban areas has been state government's policy within the planning portfolio.
And I'll ask the General Manager to add something.
Through you, Mr Mayor, in relation to Councillor Brown's question as to whether Kiama is deemed by the state government as a metro satellite, I draw you to page 369 of the business paper, first paragraph, fourth line, under the heading Metro Satellites, there's Kiama.
So we are. Yes, Councillor Director.
Sorry, also through you, Mr Mayor, for the purposes of this economic plan, that terminology wouldn't necessarily be duplicated in every state plan that would apply to the region. That terminology is not used in the Department of Planning's regional strategy, for instance.
Thank you. Councillor Sloan.
Mr Mayor, I thank Councillor Brown for raising this issue, and of course population growth and the development boom that Kiama's experienced recently has caused a lot of issues for this council and this community. Just wondering whether there's any merit whatsoever in council writing back and suggesting that no, we'd like to stay regional and rural rather than the metro satellite in this document.
I'll ask the General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, if Council was of the mind to write the letter, we could certainly send the letter. I'm not sure what it will do, but happy to send the letter, Mr Mayor, if that's Council's wish.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that in support of Councillor Sloan that, as far as I'm concerned, we were not consulted to be called a metro satellite, and that we should write to the local member and to the government that we should have been consulted, and we would rather be retained as regional and rural rather than considered a metro satellite.
You have the motion before you. I can only say good luck, but I'm with you all the way on this one. I identified that part of the plan very early in the piece, and it frightened me that we'd been identified as a metro satellite. Satellites are usually something that fly up in the air to me.
Just as a point, there is no regional rural classification.
Okay, we have to be careful to what we want to call ourselves. Director?
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. We're just looking at the documentation. There is no category called region and rural. There is a coastal classification which would possibly be consistent with.
Happy to amend my motion that would rather be referred to as coastal rather than as a metro satellite, to areas such as the Hunter and the Central Coast.
Yeah. Or maybe we could ask them to create a special category for Kiama, which is coastal, rural, regional, and special.
Mr Mayor, I'm also concerned that we retain the green space between Gerringong and Giroa.
Okay. You'll have the motion before you, which is...
That the words have to be recorded, that we write to the local member and to the government. We object to not being consulted in this reclassification, that we do not want to be referred to as a metro satellite, would rather be referred to as a coastal, regional and rural community, and we would like to see the distinction between the communities and the distinction of green space between the communities of Gerringong and Jurawa.
Okay.
You could have waited until the Labor candidate put this forward.
Okay, you have the motion. Those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Aye. I think this would be a planning matter. Yes.
No, it's not.
It's not a planning matter. I think it's a planning matter. Okay. We'll go on to page